I'd like to start our session today by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we're meeting, which for me is the Ngunnawal people. And I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We've got an exciting afternoon conversation here, and as a military veteran myself, I'm really passionate about the career opportunities that exist for veterans within the IT industry. I'm part of a community of military veterans, families and supporters within Microsoft that come together to promote our industry to those who are exiting from military service. So on behalf of our military employee resource group and Microsoft Australia, I'm really excited to host this session, highlighting a new collaboration and partnership between the tech industry, not-for-profits and educators to support more military veterans, first responders and their families entering the IT industry. And I'm really excited to kick off this afternoon with a conversation with Soldier On Ambassador Sarah Watson. And I was lucky enough to meet Sarah back in 1997 when we were both at the Australian Defence Force Academy. Sarah went on to serve an 18-year career as an intelligence officer, and since leaving service has become an incredible spokesperson for veterans on issues such as mental health, transition support and life after the military. So thanks for joining me this afternoon, Sarah, for a chat.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you all for this opportunity to participate and speak from my own experiences of the difficulties sometimes faced by veterans transitioning from the ADF to civilian employment.
And that's a great place for us to actually start. So my first question for you, what was the biggest challenge that you faced on leaving the military?
Sarah, I think most of us who do come out of military really firstly miss that camaraderie that we enjoy within the military environment. And I guess that for me was something that I actually still quite miss, and it is something I think a lot of us do face. The camaraderie, it's more like being a part of a family, really, in terms of belonging to an organisation that is something you live and breathe. And it's, when you become part of that family, it's something that you take on and become a part of for the rest of your life, I think.
Very much so. And you've touched on it. So how important do you think it is to find a new focus or sense of purpose when transitioning out of the military?
Well, I think there's two ways to look at it. Basically, there are those of us like myself who was retired medically. I was unable to continue on in my service due to some conditions that I got from my service within uniform. So I guess that sense of loss was even more profound because I didn't have a plan. I had seen myself within the service for much longer than I was, and therefore I was quite at a loss as to what direction to take after that. And also a sense of shame that I had lost my career because I was no longer fit to serve, not physically, because that was part of my recovery out of service, and within service I was quite proud of my fitness, but mentally and emotionally that side of I no longer was suitable from the military's point of view. So that finding that new sense of purpose has actually taken a fair bit of time. I have 2 degrees, a master's degree, and I found it really hard to find a job and that would accommodate what I was going through post-service, as well as draw on my experiences during service to go on and find a new direction. So, and then also those who do voluntary discharge and have something lined up to go to, I still think that there is times where they find it difficult to transition into the civilian workforce and get used to that sort of new environment and be accepted for who they are, because they were somebody in the military. They were a certain rank, and with that came certain amounts of responsibility and a sense of duty and purpose. But yeah, it's definitely an issue for all of us.
I think we're going to hear in one of the little videos later a bit about that. You may shed the uniform, but you still carry that sense of duty with you throughout your career and beyond the military. And you've sort of talked a bit to it, and this is one of the things I'm really passionate about, because I believe there are so many skills that you gain during service that are really valuable to employers, that are perhaps really easy to overlook because they're not the piece of paper qualifications. What's your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely, Sarah. I think the military does instill a sense of strong loyalty to their employer. So a sense of having like the team is bigger than the individual, if that makes sense. And that really is something that I think most military people will take on throughout their lives. And for an employer, you are going to know that you're going to get someone who's super loyal, committed to the mission, and going to do their very best in whatever task that they're given. So I think an employer is, looking to gain a great deal from a veteran in terms of their sense of duty, sense of loyalty to the organisation. And not only that work ethic and high output is something task-orientated people that you're really going to benefit from. So, yeah.
Thanks so much, Sarah. And I love those because obviously, we're talking about a traineeship here, and I think those are such valuable things to all employers, regardless of whether it's the tech industry or not. But I think those are things that can be really easily overlooked. So thanks for taking the time to chat to us this afternoon and getting us some context as to why we're here. I'm actually really pleased now to introduce Stephen Worrell, who's the MD of Microsoft Australia, and Matt Tyndall, MD of LinkedIn Australia and New Zealand. And I'm going to kick off by starting with you, Stephen. Can you tell me a little bit about why Microsoft Australia is excited to support a skills program for military veterans and first responders and their families?
I would love to, Sarah, and thank you so much, Sarah C, for hosting today, and of course to Sarah W. Thank you so much for authentically sharing your story. We're so delighted to be working with you and appreciate you spending some time with us here today very, very much. But Sarah C, to your question and to everyone who's joined, thank you first of all for being here today. This is a really important moment. And as I start, I want to acknowledge that I'm on Gadigal land. I'm here in Sydney in the Microsoft Technology Centre, and I want to acknowledge the Gadigal people for their ongoing connection with and their ongoing custodianship of this wonderful land that we have the privilege of living and working on. As I start, I also want to acknowledge the commitment and sacrifice often that our military and first responder community make on behalf of of Australia and, of course, on behalf of the entire community. That commitment, that sacrifice is often felt equally by their families. And as we come up to Anzac Day this weekend, it's always appropriate for us to pause and acknowledge that commitment and sacrifice. But it seems most appropriate as we head into the weekend and Anzac Day and all of that entails for us as a nation. But look, we Sarah, as you've been talking, we know here in the tech industry that there's a skill shortage. We have massive opportunities. There's so much going on all around technology, especially as a consequence of the pandemic, with this step change in adoption of all things related to digital capability and helping the community and the country at large to navigate its way through a really difficult time. We also know from a traineeship program that we ran, it started back in November of 2019, and a traineeship program that now employs or has employed more than 200 trainees across the country, working with more than 60 of our partners and clients here in Australia. And with that learning, and then thinking about how we might bring some of those assets to bear here for our veterans and for first responders, we felt there was a wonderful opportunity to bring those learnings to create the Career Pathways program that we're launching here today. The intent is over the next 12 months, from this year's Anzac Day to next year's celebration, that we find at least 100 roles in the tech industry amongst our partners, amongst our clients, so that we can join the dots between veterans looking to start their civilian life as they move out of the Defence Force, or indeed first responders looking to take up a new role, an exciting new role in the tech industry, to bring to bear the capabilities and the learnings that we've had over the last almost 2 years now working with our traineeship program, and to indeed join those dots to find those opportunities that exist in the tech industry, and to provide the training that's necessary to help bring some wonderful veterans and, as I say, first responders into our industry. So we're really excited about the opportunity to leverage all of those learnings and to work with John and Ivan, who I'll have an opportunity to chat with a little bit later in this call. And once again, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone for joining, because we're really excited about what we can achieve together. Sarah C., I think I might pass it all back to you, and then I'll be back on in a little bit.
Thanks so much, Stephen. And I love that aspiration. You're 100 veterans, families and first responders into IT careers. I'm very excited about that. 12 months, people, sign up. So Matt, if I can turn to you, I know LinkedIn are also really big supporters of military veterans, first responders and their families. And I got a sneak peek of your research that's coming out this week. So would you mind sharing with the rest of the call some of the insights that you've gained from that research?
Sure. So firstly, thank you, everyone. Really excited to be here, very excited to be partnering alongside Microsoft in what we think is really important and very apt as we sort of go in towards Anzac Day next week as well. So very happy to say that we did commission some research internal, but using the data on our platform, especially focusing on veterans. And it was very interesting to hear you, Sarah, talk about especially the employability of veterans and what the data shows, which exactly backs up that wholeheartedly. So, you know, this is something that we've dubbed the Veteran Opportunity Report. Will be launched tomorrow. We'll be supporting it editorially on LinkedIn, so you will see it on LinkedIn as well, supported by our editorial news division, and really trying to highlight the employability of veterans, a lot of the skills that they possess, and hopefully giving strategies to employers to really realise that vision of 100, roles within the next year as well. So a little bit of a sneak peek of some of the findings that we had, which was something that we touched on really at the beginning, you, Sarah, which is that they're highly trained, capable and skilled cohort, veterans in particular when they leave the force. So they really possess what we've termed transferable skills. These are often, talked about as soft skills as well, and these are ones that employees in all industries are looking for. The top three that veterans really, have, which is leadership, management, and operational planning, incredibly important for any role that anyone goes into. Also things like change management and strategic planning. So very, very important, very transferable skills, and veterans possess these, more often most than other graduates or people in the workforce as well. Other areas we sort of found, which is that the veterans have this almost instilled culture of learning within them. And we see that veterans, post their service, actually gain about 19 skills a year compared to about 17 with just the general population. So they really have got this perpetual culture of learning, which is incredibly important in the modern workforce and very, very, pertinent to anyone and employees out there, employers especially. When we see them going from the veteran service into the workforce, they tend to go into roles like project operation manager, software and system engineer, so incredibly sought after roles as well. And they're successful in them. So we know the veterans are 23% more likely to be promoted than their civilian counterparts once they get into these roles. So they're highly capable, skilled, educated. They possess transferable skills, and they are, once going into the workforce, they're actually very successful with being more likely to be promoted as well. But despite all this, what the research also shows is there's a real long lag time between leaving the service and actually getting employment, which is something that we wanted to highlight through the research. So on average, male veterans take about 7-8 months to get into the workforce and find roles post their service. And, sadly, actually, female veterans, it's almost double this, so about 1.6%, it's about 11 months between service and getting a role as well. And the reason we think this is we've looked at what we call the network gap. So veterans do have a broad network. So they've actually got about 90% larger network than their civilian counterparts, but it's more close. So they tend to be connected to other veterans and people in the Defence Force as well. We know that networks are incredibly, incredibly important for employment. And this is something that we wanted to highlight and obviously use our platform to really sort of counteract as well. So very educated, very skilled, very capable, got those transferable skills, yet they do find it longer to transition back into the workforce. So that's really what the research is showing, very much backed up by your conversation at the beginning of this talk, and something that we really want to highlight to just general population on LinkedIn and employers everywhere in Australia.
Absolutely, Matt. I know that reading those statistics, and particularly the 11 months to transition for the female veterans, definitely piqued my interest. And it's interesting that the research actually backs up all the things that we feel. Sarah and I have had that sort of conversation, as have a number of members of our employee resource group, that conversation about transferable skills, speed to ramp up, all that value. But it's so nice to see that the research actually backs up all the things I've been saying. So thank you. But I know LinkedIn have been really invaluable partners in helping people build up and brush up on their digital skills throughout COVID, of course, not just as off the back of this traineeship. How are those resources going to be relevant for our potential trainees, and are they being used?
Sure. So, we launched in conjunction with Microsoft the Skills Initiatives, and it is very much an initiative launched by Microsoft. We have reached around about 700,000 Australian people and job seekers, and really what it is designed to do, which is provide people with opportunity that are seeking jobs, especially through the pandemic, but going on from there in really trying to get meaningful employment. And it really revolves around skills. Skills will be the currency and is the currency of today and into the future. So what we've done, obviously in conjunction with Microsoft, is using our data to surface the most in-demand roles. So the ones in every single country, and especially in Australia, that are highly demanded and demanded roles and very important. And then what are the skills that are needed to get those roles? And then using this data, so what's in demand, what are the skills that are needed, then really trying to put those skills into the hands of people seeking this employment. So we've unlocked multiple career paths, things around data analysts, digital marketing, software development, and these are really long-term career and learning paths to be able to really skill people up into these sort of areas and enable them to get roles. And then we've opened up other resources around resources about finding a job, especially in tough times through that COVID period, and then really practical resources about things like virtual interviewing, which has become very, very pertinent over the last sort of 6 to 12 months as we see this sort of virtual event happening here as well. So, very much in conjunction with Microsoft, very much surfacing what jobs are in demand, the skills that are needed to do those, and the resources and the learning paths to get those skills.
Thanks so much, Matt. Now, I mentioned that we've been having some chats with our internal employee resource group team, and why don't we just cut to one of those videos so they can share with you all just their experiences in transitioning and some of the skills that they've found invaluable in making the change.
Hi, my name's John O'Beasley, and I've recently joined Microsoft after 28 years in the Australian Army. I'd like to talk to you very quickly about some of the transferable skills. I think they're both intangible and tangible. From a tangible perspective, what a member brings is certified qualifications, be they engineering, be they learning, be they risk. But more importantly, perhaps it's about the intangible skills that we as an ex-member or as a member bring to your organisation. Most importantly, we bring knowledge of the customer. We bring knowledge of defence. But also through our life in the military, we go through postings, and this builds resilience and also adaptability. I think loyalty and courage is something that's ingrained in us in our DNA, and also the ability to operate in unclear, ambiguous environments and sift through the noise to deliver solutions. At the end of the day, whilst we shed the uniform, service is part of our DNA. Working in the defence industry is a way in which to continue to serve. Thanks.
So obviously, in setting up a career pathway program for military veterans, first responders and their families, it's vital to work with specialist partners. And so I'm really thrilled to introduce our own two non-profit partners, Soldier On and Fortum. And so today joining us, we have the two CEOs of these organisations, so Ivan Slavich from Soldier On and John Bale from Fortum. Ivan, if we could start with you, can you perhaps tell us a little bit about Soldier On and the services that you provide?
Yeah, thanks for that. And we're absolutely delighted to be part of this Microsoft traineeship program. It's absolutely fantastic. So thanks, Steve, and also big fans of LinkedIn as well, Matt. So Soldier On, our vision is to enable veterans and their families to thrive. And we use the HELP acronym to describe what we do. So H is health and wellbeing, E is employment transition from the ADF into the civilian world, L is learning and education, and this program is very much in those two categories of E and L. And P is participation and social connection. It's also delightful to have John Bale here as well, who's our co-founder of Soldier On. Started in 2012 with the death of John's mate, Michael Fussell, in Afghanistan by an IED. And we saw that there was an opportunity to provide support services to veterans as they return from their deployment overseas. So the organisation's really grown quite substantially since then, and we've now got, just in the last 12 months, we've had more than 11,500 participants engaged in some form of activity with Soldier On. We're right across the country, so we're represented in every capital city in Australia. And we're also in rural areas such as, or in regional areas, I should say, such as Newcastle, Singleton, Port Macquarie, Kiama, Albury and Sale. So the organisation is really focused on assisting veterans. And the program from Microsoft with its global skills curriculum, and particularly in the IT side, and the traineeship program is going to be fantastic for our participants. We've run other internship programs and mentoring programs, and this traineeship program fits perfectly. We've got more than 200 companies that have signed our employment pathways program and over 40 education partners, and we're delighted to have Microsoft as one of our education partners. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Ivan. Look, and you've already done John's intro for him. So, as you said, John helped with establishing Soldier On, but you've just recently established Fortum, and I'd love to know more about that, John, if you could tell us a bit about Fortum.
Thanks, Sarah. So in our establishment of Soldier On, we really noted that there are a lot of first responders that were going through similar struggles and similar issues as our veterans, and we really wanted to reach in and provide some services, but recognise that Soldier On, as it was set up and as it is now, is for veterans, and that first responders, which I should explain is our police, it's our ambulance officers, it's our fire and rescue, and also our many thousands of volunteers across the country, SES, RFS and such, that we support as an organisation, needed a separate entity that could provide them support through the community. So Fortum now is supporting first responders and especially their families to proactively look after their wellbeing and mental fitness. Funnily enough, having helped set up Soldier On, we've grabbed a lot of what Soldier On did for that community. But in this instance, we focus much more on the family and much more on those proactive mechanisms of supporting people as early as possible. And this is going to be such a critical aspect when it comes to employment. A lot of people with inside first responder agencies don't really think about getting out. In a similar way, I guess, to veterans, they don't think about leaving. But when they do, they realise that their network has really been their organisation for sometimes 10, 15, 20 years. So as an organisation, we really want to focus on getting in there early and stopping many of the issues that you've heard about veterans and first responders by proactively supporting their families, by supporting them and helping them get the employment that they deserve, while also improving our output as a country, because veterans are amazing and so are first responders for your bottom line.
A great pitch there. Now, I know you had some questions that you wanted to ask the two CEOs, Stephen, so fire away.
Good on you, Sarah. And What a wonderful introduction from you both. So as I open, Ivan and John, congratulations on all that you've achieved with your organisations in supporting so many Australians across the country. It's awesome to hear you describe a little of the work and to understand a little bit more together as we start our partnership. And I just want to say on behalf of Microsoft how proud we are to be working with you. But John, I'm picking up on some of your comments and yours as well, Ivan, and then thinking about Sarah Watson's opening and her comments, and the video we watched with Jono. We've learned a lot with our traineeship program, but I'd love both of you to lean in on the first question, which would be, and maybe Ivan to start with, what are your learnings in terms of the sorts of programs and pathways that are effective in helping veterans to navigate into the workforce? What are the sorts of things that are top of mind?
Yeah, well, there's 5,500 ADF personnel transition out every year from the ADF. One of the most popular things is RPL, recognised prior learning. So getting those qualifications and what they've actually done in the military. And the good thing is it then identifies where the skill gaps are. So depending on where the veteran wants to move into, there's an opportunity to reskill or to upskill in those particular areas. A lot move into other defence companies, so we've got arrangements in place with organisations such as BAE, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, some really big defence type companies. But some people just want to move away from defence altogether. There's a big focus on cybersecurity. It's just massive. So lots and lots of veterans are moving into that space, particularly with security clearance. I think that's a big plus that ADF members have as well. But yeah, IT is a very, very big area for defence personnel transitioning into the civilian world.
Very good. Thank you, Ivan. And John, as you work with first responders, are there any other themes that you're seeing coming out from that community in terms of programs and pathways that have been effective in the past that we should keep front of mind as we kick this program off?
Well, I think this is really important today because really from our research, this is the first time any country and any organisation is really focused on supporting first responders into employment. So previously it's been very much a cottage industry where it's about ringing up a friend who've gone into a different company and said, that looks like it's working out for you. Can I also come and have an interview with that organisation? Which is not really setting the person up for success at all. So really we're starting at point one here, and we need to educate both the Australian people, but especially the individual coming out of, let's say, the police force on what their transferable skills are. They don't really have a good understanding of what they have achieved, what they can do. They talk a lot in jargon and acronyms, to be frank, that just doesn't make sense to the rest of the commercial world. So we need to do a lot of work with that community in building up their self-esteem on what they actually can provide to the community. Luckily, we have the opportunity to highlight the veteran experience, and there's a lot more to do in that space, but we do have a good start point. And secondly, we need to make sure that these companies and Microsoft and I think through LinkedIn can help a lot of other organisations really grab first responders and recognise the skills and attributes that they bring, and then highlight through several key examples what they can do with inside these organisations to spread that message across the rest of corporate Australia. So really, I think we're starting at square one here. This is very new and we're very excited about this opportunity, but we do need to start by educating the broader Australian population on these skills.
It's key, isn't it? Because as Ivan was mentioning, there's some obvious areas. Cybersecurity, we know there's a massive shortage there. We also know having secured or cleared personnel coming into tech roles is vital because of cybersecurity applications, or indeed many other areas that defence and related forces are using technology. But there's so many skills that first responders and defence personnel and veterans bring to the table. And so, again, Ivan and John, perhaps just a quick comment from you both there. The skills and the competencies that you see, we've touched on some of them. Sarah's shared some of hers again at the start, and Jono again in his video. What are the common areas of skills or capabilities and competencies that you think are readily transferable into a broad-based technology career?
Yeah, so Obviously, with the Australian Defence Forces, there's a real gamut of different types of areas in Army, Navy and Air Force. Certainly those who are engaged in the signals type corps are very adaptable and already possess quite good IT skills. But someone coming, say, for example, from artillery or a gunner, it's more of a challenge, or a tanker who's drives the tank or fires the artillery shells. It's a bit more of a challenge to get those skill sets. It's not saying it's not achievable, but typically you get transition from like to like type transition or close transition. Perhaps a radio operator can transition across. So I think there certainly are transferable skills from defence to the civilian world. But as I said, importantly, a traineeship and having this global skills curriculum that Microsoft has enables one to say, look, okay, you're lacking in these particular
Got it. And John,
in order to upskill and move.
Look, I think that both of these groups bring a real bias to action. The focus is in a space where things are usually going wrong, and they have to be able to sort through a really complex issue very quickly. And in today's world, in any sector, those kind of skills are absolutely critical. The other aspect is teamwork. Nothing gets done ever without effective teamwork. And both of these groups, from day one right through to the day that they leave, it's all about teamwork. How can you as an individual fit within inside a broader context to achieve the aims of the organisation? And the last one, which I think is really important, is an attitude and a bias to learning. So what do I know? What don't I know? And how can I bridge the gap? And I think that both of these groups, you haven't chosen them in an absence of ideas. You've chosen them because I think they really will highlight that they will jump onto this, even if they are the tanker or if they're the cop that didn't do anything with IT. They really will jump in because they have a bias to want to learn and continue to learn. And that's why we're so excited about this.
So well said. Bias to learning, action and teamwork. It's sounds like a perfect recipe to me, I think, John. And as I reflect on the last 14, 15 months, what a period. Started with floods, then bushfires on the east coast of Australia. Then we went into the pandemic, and then we've had these floods again. It's been extraordinary to see how well our first responders across the entire country have come together. And I don't think there's been a time where the Australian community has ever felt so proud of and so dependent on our first responders in so many different ways, including quite obviously our Defence Force, who've been out there helping the community through the bushfires. We can remember those moments last summer and then again, of course, through the pandemic. So much for us to be proud of amongst that community, and it's awesome to be able to bring some of our learnings together and to work alongside you, John and Ivan, as we join the dots here. So we've got a number of employers on the call. What's your message to the employers that might be listening in here, working out how many roles they want to create or they want to fill with trainees? Ivan, what's your message to all of those employers out there?
Yeah, and thanks for those employers. It's fantastic to have you on board. I think the important thing is we know the Prime Minister's just come out announcing a Royal Commission. What's really important for veterans is the transition from Defence Force to the civilian world, and gaining meaningful employment and education is so critical to their sense of worth and purpose in life. So what I would say to an employer is that veteran, as John said before, the skill sets that veterans have working in the ADF, the teamwork, the bias towards learning, you're not going to get a better employee than someone coming out of the ADF, except maybe from first responders. They're also great employees, very dedicated, very loyal, and they won't let you down as an employee within your organisation. So, and it's really great for their mental health and their sense of purpose. So please consider a veteran or a first responder.
Good on you, Ivan. John, any other comments?
No, you wrapped it up really well there, Ivan. Except to say, I think that this is a huge opportunity to repay those people who, on a daily basis, do care for us in the community. And you see that the way that they care for us, it's with professionalism, it's with integrity, and they will do the same with inside your business. And that can only be a good thing for any business, not just for your culture, but also for your bottom line. It's a real opportunity to tap into a group of people who have not been tapped into properly, especially the first responder community. As I said, this is pretty much brand new, and this is not taking a huge punt, to be honest. The risks are clear, but also the upside is huge. So please support these very deserving groups.
Very well said. As I said earlier, awesome to be working alongside you. Thank you so much for the partnership, and I'm going to pass the ball back to our wonderful moderator, Sarah C., to keep us going.
Thanks so much, Stephen. And thank you to Ivan and John for sharing your passion and insights. There's so much in what you said that resonates. And in the back of my mind, John, when you were talking, all I could think of was MSD, making stuff happen and getting stuff done is the sort of core of any military person. So why don't we jump to another video from one of our Microsoft people, 40-year veteran. So, it's never too late to change careers, and hear what he has to say about the change he's made.
G'day, I'm Lloyd Hewitt, and I joined Microsoft in December of 2020 after just short of 40 years in uniform, both in the Australian Navy and prior to that the Royal Navy in the UK. Reflecting on the skills that individuals from service can bring to your organisation, a couple of things that I was thinking of. The first thing is that service people work in very close confines with each other. And through that, you learn the art of compromise. And of course, compromise is one of the things that we bring to business when we start to do negotiations. And I don't think that's the thing that I don't think we always appreciate. The other one, of course, is their ability to get things done.
Hi everyone, my name is Beth Worrell. I'm the National Skills Program Lead for Microsoft here in Australia. We run a range of skills programs for Australian people, of which the Microsoft Traineeship Program is one of the principal programs that I develop and run. And of course, that program would be nothing were it not for a number of collaborators. We're so excited to have the opportunity to work with Fortum and Soldier On in the delivery of this particular program. But there are some other really important collaborators that I wanted to introduce you to today, just to learn a little bit more about how the program actually works. So I'm joined today by Bridie Gilday from MEGT, Andrew Flood from Prodigy Learning, and Greg Mace from Veritech. So if we could go to you first, Bridie. We're really lucky in Australia to have something called a group training organisation. But I must admit, before we started developing this program, I didn't know a lot about what the types of services you provide. Can you provide a little bit more information about the type of service that a group training provider provides and why your involvement makes it really easy for companies to take on trainees through a program like this?
Sure, Beth, and thank you. Look, I'll start with MEGT, and it actually stands for Melbourne East Group Training, and that's where we started from back in 1982, so about 40 years ago or thereabouts. It's one of Australia's largest group training organisations, and the name itself doesn't lend itself to explaining exactly what it's about, but what we do as a group training organisation is we try and make the experience for both the host business and also the trainee as caring and as supportive as it needs to be to ensure that we get a successful completion. So a successful experience for both the host business but also for the trainee. So our experience in relation to working with Microsoft is certainly, as Beth made mention of, was grounded back in 2019, and as Steve made mention of, there were approximately, well, greater than actually, 200 trainees that have actually been through the current Microsoft program, and there's 60 organisations that have been involved in all of that, and 29. It was lovely actually back in December of last year to see 29 trainees actually successfully complete. And during a time when COVID was involved, and what that work experience and employment experience looked like is very different, I think, to what we will experience, or what we previously experienced, and obviously potentially what we will experience as we move forward, and hopefully with the COVID impact somewhat dropping back, lessening to a degree. But the role of a group training organisation is to help host businesses to firstly identify what it is they're looking for in a candidate, and where our organisation supports the candidate, it's about supporting them to be prepared to take on a certificate for, as it is in this regard, in relation to information technology. And we're there from go to woe for both parties. And where Soldier On obviously is going to be concerned, and this extended inclusion, if you like, it will pick up and tailor even more so to some of the things that Sarah and Ivan and the other presenters on this virtual session have shared with us. So we're really looking forward as an organisation to not only supporting our military veterans, but also our first responders, in addition to their families. And I think for our organisation as a group training organisation, it's another way for us to give back to those people that have supported all of us, both Australia and also the communities at large.
Thank you so much, Brady. I think one of the exciting opportunities we have at this point in time, as well as accessing this 50% wage subsidy that the federal government has on offer, and it gives us a really exciting opportunity to maximise that, to create these jobs for people, whilst also making it really affordable for businesses to bring in this new talent. And the involvement of MEGT really helps to keep it simple and reduces the risk for our employers who are participating in the program. And we're really grateful for the ongoing collaboration between MEGT and all of the team that support our trainees, and that will look to support these trainees as part of this program. Andrew, if I could come to you, we know that one of the unique aspects of this program is the integration of Microsoft certifications and that deep technical knowledge on top of the in IT. Can you tell us a little bit more about how certifications are woven into the curriculum, and how certifications really help to build people's technical skills, as well as help them stand out?
Absolutely, Beth. And look, as at the start, I'll say that at Prodigy Learning, we're all about providing platforms that enable learners to develop and prove their skills. And it's very exciting for us, and we're really proud to be part of this initiative with Fordham, Soldier On, MEGT, and of course Microsoft. Particularly because the opportunities it will create to do just that, to create pathways into the tech sector for what will be invaluable employees to industry employers like ourselves. The certifications that you talk about, Microsoft certifications, are the ultimate proof of skills and competencies in particularly Microsoft technology in this case, but it's the currency in the industry in which we operate. As an employer in the sector ourselves, no different to Veritech and all the others that have taken part of this program here in Australia over the last number of years, the certifications give that proof of capability from the base level digital skills at the start of the Cert 4 all the way up to the highest level of Azure skills that's embedded in the program. Combining the industry standards from Microsoft with the Cert 4 that the trainees will undertake at their RTO or TAFE gives the best of both worlds, so global recognition and a local qualification. And I think together, not only with that training, that's included, but with the unique transferable skills and experiences that have been spoken about already today, that will really leave these veterans and first responders in a unique position to command an entry into the tech sector.
That's brilliant, Andrew. Thank you so much. We're very grateful for the ongoing support and collaboration of Prodigy Learning. And now if I could come to you, Greg, Veritech were one of the first partners to get involved in the traineeship program, and you've got 2 graduates from the program who I think are already kicking goals. You've also been one of the first organisations to commit to taking on veterans and first responders through this program. I'd love for you to share your experience in the traineeship program to date and what's made you really willing to participate as part of this program as well.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. And 100 trainee placements within a year is ambitious, but I know that Microsoft and the Microsoft partner community are up to the challenge. In February 2019, Veritech took on 2 trainees through the MEGT program. Both Blake and Evan are now full-time employees and are working on some of our key customer projects as part of the team. It's been fantastic to see Blake and Evan continue to build their skills, and they're fantastic examples of the opportunity this type of program has to offer. Steve touched on it earlier. The past year in particular has been difficult for a lot of people, and I continue to just be in awe of the efforts of those who serve. Veritech is extremely proud to be part of this program, and I'm looking forward to the diverse set of skills and experience that our ex-military and first responders are going to bring to the table. I really encourage other Microsoft partners to consider the benefits of participating in the program. And if there are any partners out there who want to hear more about the Veritech experience, please get in touch.
Thank you, Greg. That's really a generous offer. I think one of the things that I've loved so much about this particular program is the opportunity to meet and work with partners and to really develop and strengthen the relationship that you have with Microsoft through a talent program like this. But to Bridie's point earlier, and as we reflect on the audience that we're seeking to serve here, I have been humbled and just incredibly touched by how this type of program can really change and transform someone's life. And we've got over 200 trainees in our kind of mainstream program at the moment. I could tell you 200 stories of how this program has really helped to support people to enter the IT workforce. And I'm sure we can't think of any more deserving communities and populations than the first responder and military veterans and their families, and thank them for their sacrifice and their contribution to Australia. Thank you so much for your ongoing collaboration, and we're excited to see how this program can be transformed and adapted for these communities. Fantastic. Well, as I said, this program is about changing people's lives. It's an opportunity to give people a chance to move forward in their career and to develop new skills and experience. But we're asking you to be involved in this program, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's really good business sense.
So thoroughly commend the program to you. We are looking for 100 places between now, we're coming up this weekend, Anzac Day, and next year. And we're really looking forward to all of the conversations that flow on from today. So my thanks to Sarah Carney. What a wonderful job you've done, Sarah, as our chair for proceedings. And of course to Beth and everyone for teaming so well together to bring this together today. So look forward to seeing everyone again very, very soon.